Hey guys, it's Aaron. Today we're going to be placing the rear pads and rotors on this F-150. This is a 2015 and it is equipped with the electric parking brake feature. So first, before we start anything, we're going to have to set the parking brake system into maintenance mode. It's a fairly simple procedure. There's two ways to do it. I'll show you how to do that, and then I'm going to show you the tools you're going to need to do to get the job done right. So let's go ahead and start in with that parking brake procedure. Okay, so there's ultimately two ways to do this. One, in the easiest way, the first way is with the bi-directional scanner. I know a lot of people don't have one of those, so I'll show you how to do it without one. First thing we're going to do, start the put the ignition on. Don't start the vehicle, just put the ignition on, and then you're going to get your parking brake switch and you're going to push it towards the front of the vehicle. And while doing that, hold down the gas pedal. Then what you're going to want to do is turn your ignition off and turn it back on and wait about 10 seconds, and it will go ahead and notify you that it is in maintenance mode. Okay, so I did the procedure and it takes just a couple seconds here to notify us, and there it is. That's what it looks like. Now once we're done with the vehicle, you're going to want to return it to normal operating mode, not maintenance mode. To do that, you're gonna pull instead of pushing on the button. You're gonna pull on the button and press down on the gas pedal, turn the ignition off, and it will send it back into normal mode. So now you guys know how to put it in the maintenance mode and take it out. What we're gonna go ahead and do is jack up the vehicle and take off the wheels and start with our first procedure. All right, so here's the tools we're gonna need. You're gonna need a torque wrench. You're gonna need a 14mm or a 19mm socket. I'm just using my impact ratchet. I'm gonna need some way to get the wheels off. I'm using my impact with a 7/8 socket. You need some wheel bearing grease, some brake cleaner, a rag, and we're gonna need a way to compress the caliper. I got the special, not so special caliper piston compressor tool. You could also use a C-clamp or some large channel locks. Alright, so we got the vehicle jacked up using properly rated jack and jack stands. Now we can go ahead and focus on removing the caliper itself. There's two bolts that hold the caliper on. One right here, one right there. The factory service manual calls us to remove this connector and get it out of the way too. However, I'm just going to flip it over to the side. I'm not really going to worry about messing with that. To get these bolts off, you're going to want to use your 14mm socket on the back end while holding this guide pin right here with a 17mm socket. What you're going to notice is that there's some pretty good Loctite on that bolt, and holding this guide pin so it doesn't turn is going to make it a lot easier to remove this. Alright, so now that we got our bolts off, we can go ahead and take the caliper off, which exposes our brake pads. Next thing to do, they're going to be in there real good just to pry them out. As you can see, they are pretty worn. Get the inside one off. There we are. They are pretty worn. They're actually worn a lot more than the front pads, which is rare in a vehicle. These don't seem to last too long. About 80,000 on this truck. I was expecting a little bit more. But now that we got our pads off, we can go ahead and pull off our rotor. Now, depending on where you live, you might have a little bit of a problem getting this rotor on. It is kind of pressed onto the hub a little bit. Some surface rust might be there, making it a little bit more difficult. So what I like to do is just take a good hammer, smack it off, and there we are. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take this rotor and compare it to the new one, and we're also going to take these guide pins out, just pull them out, careful not to rip the boot. We're going to clean these off and apply new grease. It's a good thing to do when we're servicing these. These see a lot of heat and a lot of movement throughout the day, so keeping fresh grease in there is going to keep them from being seized, which they can seize after a long amount of time. So let's go ahead, go to the bench and get that done. What you'll notice is that depending on where you get your rotors from, they will be lightly coated in grease just to prevent any surface rust when they're on the shelf, kind of preserve them a little bit. You want to go ahead and clean that all up. To do that, grab some brake parts cleaner, wash it off real good, clean it up. That way we won't contaminate our new brake pads, shorten the life of them. We definitely don't want to do that. And then I do the same thing with these caliper guide pins. Just go ahead and clean them up real good. You can use a little brake parts cleaner on those too if you want. Dunk them in some new wheel bearing grease, and then we'll just throw them back in on the truck. So before we throw on the new brake pads, what we're going to want to do is compress the piston back into the caliper. Now that your system is in service mode, the piston will go back into the caliper. We've got a rotor on, got our slide pins on. What I actually like to do is put the bottom bolt on. That'll allow the caliper to stay fixed. That way we won't drop it or break anything. This is a tool that I got from O'Reilly's. I'll include a link in the description. It's very cheap, probably $10. It's just a compressor tool for working on brakes. Makes it easy. If you don't have one, you can use a C-clamp, or maybe even vice grips. Whatever you do, you just want to compress that piston in evenly. You don't want it cockeyed, that can damage it, and it's not good. So let's go ahead and compress this in, then we'll throw on our brake pads. Alright, so we got our new brake pads on, we got our rotor on, we put our 2 bolts on. Gonna want to torque these down to 35 foot-pounds. That is the Ford's torque spec. Very important, don't strip these out or leave them too loose. That could be catastrophic. So let's go ahead and throw the wheel back on. We're gonna put the vehicle back on the ground, and we're going to put the parking brake system back into service mode. Now that we're done, we're free to reset the maintenance mode and put it back into normal service mode. Just with the instructions in the beginning, go ahead and do that. Pull out on the parking brake, put the accelerator pedal all the way down, turn off the ignition, turn it back on, and it should be reset. So now that you've done that, go ahead and push down on the brake pedal all the way till the pedal is firm. What we're doing there is just pushing the piston back where it meets the pads, taking all that air gap out. That way when we go to drive the vehicle, the brakes will work instantly and we won't have a dead pedal. Hope this video has helped you out, guys. If it has, please like and subscribe. If you do the job differently, if I missed anything, or if you even have any questions, leave something in the comment section. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care.